2, 1. What's up, everybody? We are live once again. You're here with us, True Sound Studios, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month, apparently. So we have a very special guest tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of that stuff. And Mona's actually hooked up to a brain scan machine right now, and we're going to do some crazy things. You're watching Young Lion TV.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they dying. Everywhere I look, they dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they dying. Everywhere I look, they dying. Young lion, won't you get up and stop fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding.
That's right. Once again, we are back with Young Lion TV. This is the live podcast that we do every week, and I can't believe it's the 10th episode already. Crazy. But it's a special one, though, because we got a really special guest with us tonight, someone that we've known for like 15 years. Almost, right?
Yeah.
A long time.
It's been a minute.
a really old friend, and she's from Texas, so that video of Austin, Texas that was playing before is perfect because that's when we met her in Houston back in 2005 when we were on tour, and she was at the show in Houston, and we've been friends ever since, and you know, she's been a huge supporter of us, and now she's just killing it, being a mom, being an entrepreneur, being a salesperson, and killing the game. And this is our friend Victoria Shorter.
Although I will say, when I met you guys, it wasn't as unique as the Austin introduction.
That's true.
I think I just saw you guys out, and I was like, yeah, they look really cool. Their voices are amazing. I want to know who they are.
So, but you met us at the show, right?
I did.
Right.
Yeah.
So you saw us perform
I saw
first.
you guys perform first, and my whole family was there. It was like a big festival in Houston, and yeah, we were very impressed by your sounds, and we wanted to get to know you guys more, and clearly we did. 15 years later, here we are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about like all of the cool stuff that you're doing with like brain health and neurology and all that stuff, but I want to make sure everybody watching right now, I want to say what's up to all the people in the chat. What's up, little bro watching? Jay in there. We see Willis in there, hometown brother. Barbara's watching, a bunch of people watching. We appreciate you guys, and we want to just say to make sure you go and support the Young Lion TV podcast. Support the whole. Is that Jake? Every time, dude. Every time. Can you not do that before we start? Oh my goodness.
Well, what happened?
He always goes into the chat, and then but he doesn't mute his volume, so you hear us talking. But yeah, make sure you guys go to the Patreon and support it. You can become a Young Lion, and you can sign up and subscribe and donate, or you can just make a donation if you want to support, so we can get some better equipment. And you know, we keep talking about doing more content, so more content just like that South by Southwest video. We want to do stuff like that where we kind of hit the streets and ask people questions, get some conversations going outside of this building as well, because we love conversations. So other than Victoria, of course, we got Simone Chang here rocking the cool Jatan shirt. So if you guys want to get some merch, him and me, we're both rocking the merch right now. And then we got my brother Jake Evans, of course, as always, the master Young Lion, the big Young Lion in the room.
The master Young Lion.
Yeah. Because you're like the big brother. You're like the one that keeps everyone in check all the time.
It's like a Jedi Master.
Yeah, Jedi Master. Right.
There we go.
And of course we got, if you just heard her talk right there, Rachel Rhoda on the production and director tip as always. We're still working on that Rachel Cam.
Rachel Cam.
It's coming soon. Next week we'll have it. Hi, Lacey. Oh, Lacey watching.
Lacey PCs.
What's up? Okay. So so let's get into it. So I want to talk about first of all, Houston.
Yes.
Because I remember one of the things I remember is that day that we were on that tour, and when we first met you, was probably one of the hottest days I've ever experienced in my life.
The humidity
in Houston is something that people do not do not even fathom. Like if you've never been there, like people think it's humid here.
Exactly.
And every time people say that, I'm like, you don't know humidity. You don't know
Nobody
it.
understands. I mean, literally, you could walk outside and 2 seconds later, you're suffocating.
Yeah.
Because you literally cannot breathe because it's that thick of humidity.
Well, this is the one thing that I remember that I will never forget this, is that like because, you know, every time we would go to a new city, especially back then, we were known for going out and selling CDs. So we went to the hotel, we checked in, put all our stuff in there, and then we hit the mall with all our CDs and we started selling CDs. We get back to the hotel, all of our stuff is wet. Everything. Everything's wet. The floor is wet. The walls are all wet. Our clothes are all covered in like moisture.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the heck is going on? And the hotel was like, oh, you were supposed to get a dehumidifier.
You didn't ask for one.
You didn't ask for one.
We didn't know.
But we didn't know.
Yeah.
So then they sent us up the dehumidifier, and we were
goodness.
able to, like, the rest of the trip, we were fine.
Because we're good. It's
Yeah.
a whole other world, I'm telling you. So I will go to California and they can survive without an air conditioning. What is
Yeah.
that? Like in
Yeah.
Texas, that doesn't exist. Like especially Houston. Dallas is a little bit different.
Yeah, Dallas isn't as bad.
Yeah, I mean, even like if it gets Dallas during the wintertime, it can get anywhere from 30 to 40 degrees, and that's pretty normal. If that happens in Houston, we're all dying, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar
Right.
with. Like, the schools are shut down.
Yeah.
You can't even like ride on the roads, anything. But then when it's 80, 90, 100 degrees, we can somehow manage because our bodies are acclimated to it for some
Right.
reason. I don't know what it is.
I just remember like being on stage and
Sweating.
Sweating is not the word.
is-
It's like you just jumped into a pool or
Drenched.
something.
Yeah.
Like
I remember sweating so much that the sweat just burned my eyes on stage.
I
It was
believe that.
Crazy.
yeah. That was insane. And there was this giant pool of like water in front of the
Yes,
stage. And it
yes.
was just like misting into the
So
atmosphere.
for my Houston people that are watching, they were at Tranquility Park. Okay, so if you guys know Tranquility Park downtown,
Yeah.
everybody likes to jump in there.
Yeah, people
When
were
it gets-
jumping in there.
when it gets a certain temperature. That's where I met them. So poor guys.
And that was with like, who was on that? Like Dougie Fresh,
a
Slick
lot.
Rick.
Yeah,
Big Daddy Kane.
a
Big
lot.
Daddy Kane was there.
For sure.
Yeah, but there was like the headliner was like some old school act. I think it was like Confunction or one of those.
One of the you guys always are kicking it with the old school.
The old school,
guys.
yeah.
The ones that paved the way.
Right, that's what we came up with.
Yeah.
All that
A
old
lot
school
from
music.
that.
For sure.
So, for those that don't know, explain a little bit about yourself and like how you got into doing this, the business that you do now.
Okay.
Because I know you went to school for marketing,
I
right?
did. Look at you.
Yeah.
I did. I went to school for marketing. Sales was something that everybody kept telling me that I would be very well in. I was just like, I don't know if I like it. I love being behind the scenes. I like rolling out the red carpet for salespeople. But I met someone, and she said that you'd be really good at this, and I'm very into the medical industry. I wanted to be a doctor as I was growing up, but I don't take too kind to bodily fluids. That
that's
kind of like deterred
deterred.
me.
Yeah.
It just, I was like, I no problem going to school for 12 years and spending $200,000 and being in debt for 3 decades. I'm okay with that, but the bodily fluid situation just didn't sit well with me.
Right.
So I just so happened to kind of venture into an opportunity where I work with several different doctors in different fields, and I sell them devices that help really take care of their patients in a way that is up to standards, if not above standards, than what the government regulates. And if you guys don't know, the government has a very high regulation for patient care in America.
Yeah.
Lucky us.
Yeah. But I mean, in a way, it's kind of one of the reasons why we innovate so much.
Absolutely.
Right.
The medical world is very evolutional. So think about it. When it comes to medical devices, medical technology, as soon as you're conceived, a medical device is used to find out that you exist.
Right.
Find out what sex you are, to find out how healthy you are before you even actually are born into this world. So to think about it in that standard is really phenomenal to me, because we can go from seeing a child, and then we can go to seeing when you're dealing with older 65 and plus people who will have dementia and Alzheimer's, things that really affect families and your personal life. Medical devices do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is such a huge factor in the healthcare world, and I'm very lucky to be a part of it now.
So what you do is you try to make other like hospitals and doctors aware of the devices that you sell.
Exactly.
That work on brains and everything like that.
Exactly. So one of the newest devices that the company I work for has developed is a neural scan device.
What's the name of the company, by the way?
It's Universal Medical Testing.
Okay.
And we have about 7 to 8 different devices, but the neural scan I'm very passionate about. I love it. It's incredible. I actually had an opportunity to work with a doctor at a clinic in Houston where I'm living. And he's a family practitioner. Okay. So family practitioners are pretty basic, but he's a younger one. And I feel like younger doctors are really into being innovative and,
Right.
and evolving and really expanding medicine. And he is doing this right now with our neural scan device. There's a lot of controversy and talk about NFL players or football players in general. And he is really taking the time to start scanning with our device players who have had TBI, which
Right.
is traumatic brain injury.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily match up to CTE, but it can be a precursor to CTE.
Right. So the traumatic brain injury is what leads to like the CTE.
Exactly.
That they're finding in like 99% of football players
You
that
cannot
play
have-
professionally.
Yeah.
Exactly. You
Right.
cannot have CTE without TBI. So a
Right.
traumatic brain injury is exactly what leads to CTE.
So I know Moan's a little nervous because he played football in high school and we got him hooked up to this machine.
Looks like.
So he's worried to see what comes of this neural scan. I mean, this isn't going to be a really accurate one because it has to be a whole thing, right?
Exactly.
I gotta be relaxed.
What is
There
the
we go.
process that you normally do? Because
So
I saw on your Instagram you were like injecting something.
I
into-
was, yeah. So basically, it's a quantitative test, and what we do is we will hook them up to an EKG, so that's one part of the test, and then we hook them up to a pulse ox, so it takes your pulse.
Is that what you got strapped
The
on him?
EKG, so we have him on a 3-lead EKG.
Okay.
And so the pulse ox will hook up when we start the test, and then we will put the brain cap on him, which will take all of the brain waves in his frontal lobes.
And we're going to do that live on the podcast?
We'll be doing that
Okay.
live. Yes. And so it's a 20-minute test. So while we're talking and being disruptive, he's going to have to try to remain calm so that we can get the most accurate brain wave
Just don't bring up the Eagles or
There we-
football.
there we
and
go.
he'll be calm.
Or should we? This is an experiment. I want to see how it really affects someone. So it's a 20-minute test. 5 minutes eyes open, 5 minutes eyes closed, and then 10 minutes of a responsive type test. So they will give you a series of images and sounds, and you have to react to the ones that they identify. And the reason why the test scans that way is because your brain has 4 different wave patterns. It's the delta, theta, alpha, and beta.
Okay.
And so Jake right now is kind of looking at the scan. And so if you can see, this is your delta, theta, alpha, and beta.
And what does that mean?
Let me explain.
Because to me, it just sounds like a bunch of sororities
it?
and fraternities.
And I'm not even a
Hey, man, I'm
doctor.
alpha male, beta male,
sounds like just Greek words. Yeah.
beta.
So, right. So your
Beta
delta is your most relaxed state. That's when you are completely relaxed and you're in a deep sleep.
Okay.
Your theta is where you're approaching the delta state, where you're relaxed, you're kind of in the state where you're approaching being in a deep sleep. So you may be unaware of things, but you're still somewhat cognizant. And then your alpha,
Which is which?
So this is your delta right here, and then this is your theta. So you're falling asleep. This is your alpha. Alpha is where you kind of like first wake up, and you know how you can maybe have too much to drink, and you wake up and you're looking around, and you're like, where am I right now? What happened last night?
I can theta anyway. I can theta standing up.
Right?
Yeah. Not like Jordan.
Yeah, not
Jordan, our guitar player, can literally sleep standing up. Like,
Well, wow.
I think
Impressive.
he has.
yeah,
slept.
he has.
so-
No, I'm saying that's why I said literally. I meant it.
So let's scan him too.
Yeah, we should get Jordan to scan because he's one of the. He literally can fall asleep anywhere, anytime.
So that in itself shows low brain wave frequencies. Not that it necessarily means. Not that it
Wish
means.
he was here right now.
Jordan, we got to talk to you about the low brainwave frequencies. See, this is why. See, I knew there was a reason why he was getting them guitar parts wrong. No, I'm just joking. Jordan's amazing. I'm just joking.
But it does. It shows that, and sometimes being in a relaxed state can be good,
Yeah.
and sometimes.
So is that why? Just a question. Is that why y'all incorporate the CBD, like to calm people down? Because I know it's been used to
Yeah, I looked it up.
relieve
man. There's a
anxiety
lot-
and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I actually tested an Philadelphia Eagles player. He's a former Philadelphia Eagles player. What are the odds? I'm
Yeah, I
from
know. That's
Houston,
hilarious.
And
meant to
here
be.
I am.
But the funny thing is, he's not anyone that anyone would. Like she told us, like, oh, I was testing a Eagles player, and me and Mom both got hyped. Like, who was it? And then he looked and he was like, dude, I can't find any stats on this guy.
Well, let's just hope he had some TBI. So the other players in the NFL, if you guys know him, you gave him some type of injury so that I could make some type of, differential scan. But so he was a advocate for hemp oil.
Oh wow.
And CBD, and he's a part of this.
So what is
movement.
CBD? Just
Yeah, for
the
those that
people
don't know, what is
Okay.
CBD?
So CBD is a derivative of marijuana. If you think about it, in
But
just,
more hemp than marijuana. right?
absolutely. So
Right.
marijuana has cannabinoid and THC together, and when you just do CBD, it has no THC. Our bodies all have opioid receptors, and then we also have cannabinoid receptors.
Right.
So if you think about right now, especially in the healthcare industry and mental health and pain management, there's a lot of doctors that will prescribe opioids, like
Right.
any type of pain
Yeah,
medication.
That's part of the reason why we're going
Why
through
it is.
so much in this
Yeah.
country.
Okay, exactly. And so when those types of medication go into your body, they attach to those opioid receptors, and that unfortunately also triggers a addictive trait.
Right.
So that is a foreign type of element that you're putting into your body. Cannabinoid receptors do the same exact thing.
Right.
They trigger your pain management, but then they also handle your appetite control and a few other elements within the body. And it's not addictive, and it's not a foreign element.
Right.
So right now, and it seems like marijuana in general is a huge topic, right? In
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Huge topic in America.
We
And-
talked about it a few podcasts ago, like because New Jersey has done some like weird steps to try to keep weed from being legalized.
And there you go. That's the thing. So for me, being a part of the medical industry and devices and working with doctors who are really extremely interested in digging in deep into these elements, it makes it a lot more interesting to see how each state
Right.
is approaching how they're going to legalize it, right? Mm-hmm. We have California that has marijuana, so you can do that CBD across the board.
Right.
Just recently, Texas passed a bill where marijuana, THC, is not legal, but CBD is legal.
Because the psychoactive element is not doesn't
Exactly.
exist in it, right?
So I
And
feel
there's no
like
side effects that they know of.
Right.
that are harmful, as
Right,
they
right.
say.
The side effect is literally
Improvement.
it's like it's relaxation.
Yeah.
It's a de-inflammatory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't get like none of the high.
You don't.
You don't get high at all.
So with the company I work for, my boss encourages me to try CBD.
Right.
And so the doctor that I worked with, who tests the former Philadelphia Eagles player, we had him go off of CBD oil for 5 days, and we tested his brain. And let me tell you, when he came into this clinic, he immediately said, I'm anxious, I'm irritable. Let me hurry up and do the scan so that I can get back on my dosage.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell his personality was very intense. So we sat him down, ran the test,
Yeah.
and then 50 minutes later, after a dosage that was taken immediately after that test, it was a significant difference, not only, externally, but internally.
Right.
We could see that his behavior, the way he was interacting with the staff, with us, was just much more calm. But then scanning his brain was a whole nother ballgame. Your frontal lobe is what's responsible for your personality, your cognitive skills, and the initial scan showed very low frequency brain waves when he didn't have his treatment. And once he took it, we ended up having him have pure green within this. So as you can kind of see,
Green is good.
yeah. So if you see, I don't know if you can see that, but green right here, this is amazing. I mean, this person's on point. But you can see how there's pink right here. His scans were similar to something like this, and then it went to this. I mean, that in itself is phenomenal within 50 minutes.
Right.
That's unheard of,
Did you bring me any?
So I kind of dropped my dosage when I was leaving the airport.
Can you travel with that?
You can travel within Texas.
Okay.
Since now it's passed.
But it's CBD is pretty much legal everywhere, right?
For the most part, in most states it is. Like I said, each state is doing it case by case.
Okay.
So it's not this big announcement. Remember when Canada
Yeah.
went legal with
Yeah.
marijuana? It's across the board. It was a huge announcement. Nobody's really announcing CBD legalization.
I think a lot of people aren't even aware of it, though.
They're not.
The awareness
They're
is
not.
down, but they don't. But the fact that, because when I was looking into it, a lot of people are using it, especially athletes, a lot of people that are training, a lot of people that do high impact sports,
MMA
fighters,
stuff,
MMA
yeah.
fighters,
And they should.
they take huge doses of it after a fight because
They need to.
It's all over Philly as well.
Yeah.
Pet shops and all of any place that offers pet shops have all kinds of CBD related pet care and medicine and different treats and all kinds of stuff to relieve pain in older dogs, but they have signs outside that are CBD inside for pets.
right for pets, quote unquote.
Yeah, and all of the vape shops now
Right.
have CBD oil. Over the past year, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's been a huge explosion of people using CBD now because I think part of the pushback is from the pharmaceutical industry
1,000%.
because it helps for anxiety, it helps for inflammation, it helps for pain and
Sleep.
Yeah, so it cuts
Everything.
into a lot of
the receptors in our body automatically gravitate toward this if we entered into our system.
yeah.
You know?
They were saying that there's topical forms that you can put on swollen
Yes.
joints or muscles, and it works so much
Absolutely.
better than the pharmaceutical.
The distributor that handles the oral dosage also sells the topical. And literally, he told me that he put this cream on older woman's under eyes, and the wrinkles went away almost immediately.
Wow,
Okay.
Wow.
It's amazing.
that's better than the penis facial.
Wow. I heard that was just for moisturizing and whatnot, but
Have you ever tried?
we'll talk about that on another day.
No. Do you know what we're talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
I do know. Not exactly the same.
Okay. I was saying it's better. You
Yes,
know,
it is.
penis facial doesn't work that way.
It does not.
I think that's just all like mystery and witchcraft.
So
Witchcraft for sure.
I want to talk about, okay, so your friend, the Eagles player.
See if you can
don't-
show that video of him, because that's him on her Instagram page, so we can let people see.
There we go.
There you go.
It was round 2.
See, that's the thing that Simone thought that she was putting a needle in his brain, and he was like, "Do you have to do that to me?"
I fell for him for 5 days. Now I just took a dose of our Recept.
What's a Recept? What is he talking about?
Recept is a brand of CBD oil.
Okay, that's what I thought he
Yeah,
was talking about.
yeah.
Okay,
So
I'll let y'all know here soon.
he seems very happy about his
Okay.
dosage.
yeah, he's that's 15 minutes post.
Right,
he
right.
is.
So
he's
that-
like, I'm good.
So
Yeah.
he was doing it before, and then he
Yes.
wasn't. So
We
he had
advised,
anxiety.
yes, we advised him to stop taking it for 5 days.
Okay.
And so just same thing. Say if you have a patient who is, has anxiety or depression, and you prescribe them, Lexapro or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. You take that, and after a certain amount of time, if you get off of it, you're going to start feeling anxious and whatnot. But then your body is also extremely addicted. For him, he went 5 days. And he started to feel that anxiety, but his body wasn't completely in an addictive state to where he couldn't function.
Because it's not addictive.
There's no withdrawals.
Yes, exactly. So he could feel what it was treating. It was treating anxiety.
Right.
He could feel that his anxiety wasn't being treated, but he wasn't feeling all these additional symptoms that can come. We all know we watch these pharmaceutical company commercials.
Yeah.
All the side effects.
Yeah, yeah. The list of side effects sounds
It's
like
unreal. I'm like,
worse
do
than
what-
even
yeah.
trying the drug.
Do I?
Hemorrhage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Death.
Could
Exactly.
cause death, and it's like, what?
It's like, do I want to have a headache or do I want to die?
Right.
Which one is it? And so he wasn't experiencing those particular things, but he was having the anxiety back.
Okay.
And
and that's something he dealt with beforehand, like
He did.
on a regular.
yes,
But is it something that was induced by football?
caused by the TBI.
Right. So it's something that a lot of these players are like we were just talking about before the podcast, like how many, like the Aaron Hernandez case and,
Exactly.
and Junior Seau who took his life, and a lot of these players who developed this CTE from the brain injuries from football.
Yes.
And the path that it leads them down afterwards.
1,000%. So here's an example that will kind of give you maybe like a baseline. So I had a doctor that was working with I want to say he was about 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Never did sports. Wasn't very active, but when he was in school, his behavior went from being a typical 9-10-year-old, to very intense, erratic, irritable, lashing out. And the mom could not figure out for the life of her what was happening with this boy. Like, she could not understand what was going on with her son. And then they continued to take him to psychologists, his family practitioner, and then they ended up using the neural scan device. And they did a complete scan, and they found the TBI that was in his frontal lobe, which, like I said, is responsible for your personality, your cognitive skills. And it showed very significant low frequency levels that indicated that he had had trauma to his frontal lobe.
Wow.
Come to find out, his dad had been abusing him.
Wow. And the brain scan exposed all of
The
that.
brain scan had indicators
crazy.
within it that exposed that. So had she not done this scan, she would have just thought, my son's just acting out. He's just not behaving the way he's supposed to be behaving, and would have never known that there was actual damage
Right.
at 11 years old
It's crazy.
being done to
And
his
that's
his
happening
brain.
to a lot of kids that play like midget football and Pop Warner football. Like they're starting to ban it in certain states now.
Yeah.
Because of the trauma that these kids are starting to.
They're trying to ban it.
Well, it's been banned in a couple states already.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I found a couple articles that were just talking. A matter of fact, a recent one. I think I forget which state it was, but one of the states just was talking about banning.
And you know,
I think
they should.
man.
They should. I know with the doctor that I work with in Houston, the one who I worked with that did the scan on the Philadelphia Eagles player, he actually works with a couple other people, JJ Watt. I mean, he's intrigued, family practitioner, but he's this intrigued with the CTE and TBI, you know, epidemic that's happening right now, and no one's doing anything about it.
Right.
And he's really into functional medicine. So he wants to do these studies, and he was looking at companies that handled helmets that will basically record the impact levels whenever these kids are playing football. You know, and
I mean,
that's-
yeah, because there were one of the studies I was looking at was saying that it's not even necessarily from head impacts. Sometimes it's just from people colliding into each other.
Yeah.
Your brain, they don't realize that your brain hits the front of your skull.
Exactly.
You get
And
whiplash.
that's frontal lobe.
Like, if
That's
it-
frontal lobe damage right there.
Yeah, if
Exactly.
you're running full speed at somebody.
Yeah, your brain isn't
your neck.
set in your head.
yeah, exactly.
And it's not meant to be sloshing around like that, and
At all.
and that's why like fighters, when you see a lot of fighters later in their career or after they're done, you know, like that punch drunk syndrome is from constantly getting hit. I mean, even with soccer players, they're finding that out. We saw that article, and some people are worried about that too, because you know, heading the ball and you know, just impacts. I mean, you got hit in the head on Sunday, you know, when we were playing by someone who was just being a little too rough, and it can happen. You know?
And time after time after time, I mean, it has an impact. And another really interesting factor with this doctor that I've worked with in Houston, along with all of these things, CBD that can help, the food you eat.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Literally the food you eat. So, I mean, now that we're in, 2019, we've got keto, vegan, paleo, vegetarian. I mean, we've got the
Right.
plethora of different diets that supposedly are the best for you. And when he gave us this lecture and really broke down what it is that's being ingested in your body when you do each and every one of these diets, it's incredible how it impacts your brain activity as well. I mean, just your food. If we really look at how our body is internally with our organs, our intestines and whatnot, we're not meat eaters.
Right.
Believe it or not.
So we're only supposed to eat vegetables?
We are, the way that our body is designed is to mainly be plant-based. If you look at the animals who do only eat meat, their teeth are formed a certain way, their intestines is a certain way, and it is solely designed to break it down in a certain way. So because our body, when we are eating meat, 3 times a day and trying to break it down, our body gets in this position where it can't operate at its prime because it's trying to figure out how to break down all this meat and everything when it's really needing to use that energy to promote the brain wellness and functioning, right?
Yeah, I've heard that from some people, but I've also heard other doctors and dietitians like
Exactly.
Dr. Rhonda Patrick and some other people that I've seen that, like who's the lady that wrote that book, The Big Fat Lie?
I can't remember.
But she broke down all of the epidemiological studies that were done on health and on diets, and how like actually like fats and animal fats are
Exactly.
one of the best things for your brain.
Okay, so listen to this. So remember the Atkins diet? I don't know if you guys remember that, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Huge deal. People were losing weight left and right. Get rid of carbs, eat fat, eat this, eat whatnot. It's still good for you, but in a certain amount, right? Like
Right.
our body can allow certain amounts, and we do need it in a certain amount of, we can have, bacon every now and then, whatnot. But at the end of the day, say you drive a Porsche, right? You got this expensive car. I'm not sure if you had the money to buy the expensive car that you're going to put the cheap gas in there. Because if you're
Right.
told to put the good gas in there and it's going to survive longer,
Well, I think that's a good argument against like eating processed foods and processed
Exactly.
meats and like a lot of the cheap stuff that you get from, you know, hot dogs and all
and
that.
there you go.
Right.
That's where the problem lies.
People
right?
don't care enough about what they put in their
We're,
bodies.
the medical industry is evolving with all of these things to help overcome all of these diseases.
Well, the medical
but
industry
these diseases
they also
are
benefit from it though too, right?
pharmaceuticals.
Okay, but
I don't even-
But don't hospitals also? Because they get to treat people that have, you know, that are.
But the hospitals are treating them with pharmaceuticals, right? My industry is devices.
Right.
I'm in preventative medicine devices. So what I sell to doctors are
Helps them
devices
figure out
that
what's
help them
going
figure
on.
out what's
Right.
going on before it gets to the problem where they're going to an hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And what's beautiful about the company that I work for is that it's heavily regulated in the government. So the government uses these measures and these report cards on a yearly basis. So if a doctor were to utilize this device, it goes up against every single code that the government says this is what you should be doing as a doctor to make sure that your patients have the best health care, that they have the best patient care and regimen to prevent them from moving even deeper into, you know, some type of state that's going to have them be in diabetes.
Have you
hypertension,
guys seen
hypertension.
any pushback like from trying to get these devices out there? Have you had any pushback from other people, other companies that benefit from, you know, like the NFL or any of these companies that benefit from people not knowing about brain health? You know.
So, good question.
Mm-hmm.
Not directly with us when it comes to the neural scan, but the NFL does not take too kind to you scanning NFL players' brains.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So when I had the opportunity to do the scan, to actually have his, you know, paperwork and everything, the interpretation that came from the device that we're about to do
Yeah.
on this lovely candidate,
Yeah.
it was very difficult to be able to take that out of the clinic and show it to other people. You have to have it released from the NFL and then from him personally.
Wow.
Now, of course, he was very excited to be able to say, "Absolutely, take it." But unfortunately, there's a dual side to it, and I can't speak personally on where that comes from. I don't know if that's from.
Well, it's a huge business, right? And if it becomes too widely known that there's this huge problem, because we were looking at the stats, and it's like literally
It's crazy.
anyone who makes it to the pro level of NFL, anyone who makes it to that level has some type of brain injury.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So I actually met just last week. I was in Dallas working, and I met a doctor who listened to what I told him about this Houston doctor that's working with NFL players, and he goes, "You know what? Better than that, I want to start scanning college draft players, and I want to see their brain
Right.
before they enter, and then I want to scan them again
After, right.
after and see what the difference is."
Yeah, we need more data on this
1,000%.
so that people know what we're dealing with.
That's the thing right now. I'm telling you, these doctors that are younger and more innovative, they're so data driven that they understand what point in time they are in this world right now, and they are capitalizing on it. And I'm so thankful that I get to be a part of, you know, a project.
It starts early. I was just
Yes.
telling Jamie, I watched a documentary on the doctor. They made the movie about
Yeah.
concussion.
That Will Smith didn't get the
Bennett.
Oscar for.
Exactly. I mean, come on,
Come on, all that great acting.
right?
Bennett Omalu, I think his name was Ben Omalu.
I watched the documentary as well. I'm a
and it
documentary
was.
freak.
I
and
love
it's
football, and
Incredible.
It's crazy how
It was incredible.
Yeah, it's
Did you,
crazy.
and it showed the families, right? Was
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yep. It's Junior Seau, all of them. But I was gonna say, you know, you were talking about college players who get, you know, scholarships or whatever like that. There was a brain of an 18-year-old. I told Jamie this. An 18-year-old kid. He died somehow, and they tested his brain. He only played high school football, and there were signs of CTE in his brain. So it starts.
And you only played high school football.
I only played.
And
high
you
school.
remember like a few times getting your bell rung, seeing stars,
Okay,
stuff
guys,
like that.
I have a 5-year-old who is obsessed with sports, and I'm going to try to steer him clear away from football.
Yeah.
I don't want to see.
We were just talking about that. Like, we love football, but
yeah, right.
but then like you're torn because you're like,
Take it personally.
yeah, like what kind of damage is that doing to people? I mean, you're literally. So sometimes I'll be watching the game, and then I talk to these guys about this sometimes, like, or like I'll be doing something in the middle of an activity, and I'll just have like this out of body experience where I'm like kind of watching it as someone who's not just used to, like someone whose perspective is outside of the norm, right? Or like maybe I'm watching it as like, if I didn't know what football was, what would I think about this, right?
Okay.
And then I'll be sitting there and I'm like, yo, this is really not that normal. Like watching these men just crash into
The
each
first
other.
time, the first time I went to an NFL game, I went to a Texans game, and my friend was like, guess what? We got really good seats. We're like 12 rows up. I could hear
Yeah, you
these
can
people
hear-
hitting. That is the most unreal experience. To hear two people hit each other.
That was
Okay, listen, you're 12, rows up, and you think you're close, but then they're like in the field. I mean, that's a far distance to hear it.
That's the thing, like you get a sticker. Watch college? They put the stickers on there. Like when you do stuff like that, you make a hard collision, that pop,
Yep.
you get
Mark.
Get rewarded for
you
that.
get rewarded for.
Oh, don't tell me that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So yeah, I mean, I met a doctor who wants to do that, and I'm here in Philly right now, but I'm actually going to be meeting with him on Friday, and we're going to go ahead and set him up with.
What are you in Philly for? Because this is such a huge
I am.
coincidence. Like, it's just like, I
It
know it
is,
seems
isn't
like
it?
we planned this whole thing because it's, Mental Health Awareness Month, and you work in that field, and we need, a guest on the podcast.
True.
But it was just like, you hit me up like, oh, I'm going to be in Philly. What are you guys doing? I was like,
Didn't
come on the
I?
podcast.
I think I sent you a message like less than a week ago.
Yeah.
For myself, I didn't find out I was coming here until about a week and a half ago.
Right.
But I'm actually here for the American Academy of Neurology annual meeting conference. So this is the world's largest neurology conference.
Do they do it in Philly every year? Or
It's not in Philly. It's
Okay.
picked in a different city every year. So it just so happened the stars aligned.
Yeah.
But yeah, so next year it'll be in Toronto.
Okay.
I think the year after that it'll be in Amsterdam. But
And you can really get some CBD.
I think it was strategic because
Yeah.
they knew, like, by that point, like, the Americans would be like
on
really
board.
heavily
Yeah.
involved in it. So
Right.
they're like, now we can really have some data.
Yeah.
But no, this conference is incredible. There is over 8,000 neurologists in town right now.
Wow.
Okay, just neurologists, not including all of the other, pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies,
Right.
Hospitals that are looking to hire neurologists, companies that do clinical studies. All of these people are in town. So collectively, it's about 15,000 people that have come to Philadelphia.
So your company sent you here to sell them all devices.
They did.
They said, hey, what's funny is because remember, Victoria used to work at Hooters, right?
Thank you. Wow.
Hey,
Evolution.
yeah, evolution. I mean, it was a short stint,
Yeah.
but what
I
I'm
was in
saying
college
is,
and-
what I'm
yeah.
saying is the stigma of like only certain type of intellectual people can
Yeah.
work there, right?
Yeah.
And you're a very smart girl, but
Thank you.
But I think it's funny that like, they send the ex models and Hooters girls
No.
to sell the devices to the doctors because they know
Let's
these
let's go ahead
older
and talk
rich
about
white
it.
men.
Let's talk about
Let's
it.
talk about it.
So my coworkers and I it's like three of us. I mean, I am not against promoting women beauty. I mean, my
Right.
goodness, my coworkers are beautiful, okay? But very intellectual women.
Right.
And here we are in a booth in Philadelphia with a bunch of doctors and other people. And I mean, we know how to pick out our outfits appropriately and you know, and
But we
pick
were
out the
talking
cute
about this
shoes and-
before because there is a difference. There's a certain thing in Houston, and because every time we go there, we notice this. There's a certain thing in Houston with like the level of dress just kind of gets elevated.
Well, it's funny because I was asking you guys, and you guys were trying to figure out. You're like, wait, there was a city that I was at that we walked in, and we were like, wow, they're dressed, and you're like, wait, it was Houston, and I'm like,
because we were just there in November.
yes, yeah.
And we went to a random restaurant at like 11 o'clock at night after the show, and we were like, why is everyone dressed like they?
So because in Texas they do it big,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, like me and my coworkers were going.
So
out
you guys came to
dinner.
Philly, and you're like, what the hell is going on?
You have no idea. Listen. Because this is, okay, so think about this. Collectively, we're already from Houston, so everything we do is big.
Right.
But then we find out that this is like the biggest like neurological conference in the world. So we're like, well, we've got to definitely be 100% on point. So we're all going to the mall, shopping and everything. And the first night we wear like our best because it's my coworker's birthday. And we're walking across the street to go to dinner, and like this cute lady rolls down the window, and she's like, "Are you guys like movie actors? Like, where are you from?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
No, this is how we just go out in Houston.
This is how we walk down the
Our
street
Houston.
when we're from
We're just
Houston.
going to dinner.
Yeah.
No big deal, you know.
And here they be like, what are you doing?
So the next day, my coworkers are like, "We're gonna tone it down and wear scrubs the rest of the conference," because that's
You guys
really how
felt
we
out of
operate.
place?
Yeah, that's
You
how
don't
we
want any
operate.
attention.
Yeah, we either dress up or we wear scrubs. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, I love days that I wear scrubs.
Yeah.
I don't mind dressing up, but you wear scrubs?
I
Are you
love
kidding
being
me?
comfy, man. Being
Yeah,
comfy is
and it was funny because you were like, do people like dress down around here a lot? And we were like, not really, but me and him were both in gym clothes at the time. We're like,
You're
yeah, I
like, but
guess.
coincidentally,
Yeah.
we're both going to the gym in a few minutes. So
Yeah.
no, not the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, but we always come here in our gym clothes because
I'm in gym
we're
clothes
lazy.
right now.
Because we're lazy.
And here I am in a blazer. Okay, like,
But you're a business, business
True.
casual. You're selling
I love-
devices. You
I
gotta
love
show.
my blazers.
Yeah.
I love them.
So what are we gonna do with this brain scan on Mr. Chang here?
Okay, so do you want to go ahead and get started now?
Sure.
Okay, so we already
Take my
have
hat
you.
off.
There
All right,
we
so once you
go.
get away from the mic, it's gonna they're not
Okay.
gonna hear you too good. So
So should I talk really
guess-
loud or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just speak up a little bit when
Okay,
you.
I think I can do that.
Yeah, you got
I'm gonna
it.
take the headphones off, right?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay. So,
Scan my brain.
you ready for this? Okay, so what we're gonna do, we already have you hooked up to the 3-lead EKG right here. We got
This
it.
is gonna be hilarious.
It's gonna be amazing. So we got you hooked up here. So we're also gonna put you on a pulse ox so we can get your pulse, and we're gonna put
Nothing better than doing a brain scan after you have a couple of
Right.
drinks.
Oh, we're really gonna have some data on this.
Should I listen to what you sent me?
Yes. So here's another interesting fact.
Okay.
Talking to some neurologists, and this is like a personal thing that I've kind of just
You wanna
done
see the shake?
myself. There are meditation music that a lot of companies have put out on
this is
YouTube or not.
some
Gotta have
Some chakra.
Can we see all the
Well, they're
chakras
all-
involved in
they're-
this?
They're all frequency.
All the chakras. We're gonna get all the chakras going.
No. This is. There's a science behind this.
I can't listen to godly music.
You cannot. Well, I mean, you could, but,
can't
but this
listen
is
to-
my
You
own.
cannot.
I can't
The
listen to
brain
Jesus.
cannot be thoroughly scanned.
This is pretty crazy.
First of all,
This is yeah.
we're Christians around here.
no, but it's a frequency. It's frequency music. Okay, so your
Gotta
brain.
get them brain
Your
frequencies.
brain waves are based off of frequencies. Okay,
Well,
your brain is based off of frequency.
Sounds
levels.
soothing. I think it's just
It's literally the frequency levels. So this, I'm gonna put the pulse ox on you.
So if Juanita's watching, she gets to find out now if her husband has brain damage.
Oh, we'll see.
is it why I'm so irritable sometimes? Are you
now
watching, Dave?
now she's gonna blame everything on this right now.
See, you shouldn't have played
all-
football.
Right. This is all football's fault.
Okay, so we're gonna put this cap on, and this has
well, it is aggressive.
16 receptors.
This makes me look more Asian.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was like, yo, you look,
I look
so
so
Asian
Asian.
right now. Look,
Or you
that looks
look
like some old Usher beanies he used to wear.
Or
My way.
wow.
She likes it my way.
Or you're gonna go swimming in a competition or something.
Yeah, swim
I
cap.
love how Rach is looking at me right now.
Okay.
So this is you inject all of these.
I'm gonna inject each one of these holes, and you guys can't necessarily see the computer.
Should I be trying to relax?
Not right now. You don't have to.
Maybe you
revolve
can
it.
move the computer like right in between us, and then people can see the screen of it.
Oh, what did I just do?
We were gonna try to present it on the live stream, but
I would love, yeah, I would love for you guys.
we need people to donate so we can do that.
All right, there we go. So,
Alright, I don't know if it's good.
between you guys.
I'm about to just get off the Wi-Fi. As soon as I get off the Wi-Fi, the music starts.
Perfect.
There we go.
Yeah,
So-
but you,
so-
you can't see anything.
So this is the neural scan device.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, like I said, it's a 3-lead EKG. It's a
You
pulse
can't see
ox.
that. It
Can't
just looks
see
like
it.
a white screen.
Oh, wow. There we go. Then we're going to put some electro gel. So I'm going to see.
So this is what we saw you putting in. What was his name? Jonas.
Jonas Crafts.
Jonas
Crafts.
Crafts.
I'm going to try to do a better job with you and not
Not stick a needle through your brain.
saturate your.
Ooh, let's take a look at that, huh? Put that through the.
There we go.
I was really nervous about the needles going into my brain. I really
No,
was. I'm not even
you
gonna
don't
lie.
have
I was like, dude, I don't think she's penetrating a skull with the
Oh,
with the
God.
needle.
I was joking with him. He's taking it serious.
No, it's not. It's not that invasive.
Can you grab my AirPod that just fell, Jay?
Oh, my bad.
So we got to make sure that all of these
Thanks.
are in order. And then we're going to be calm for him so we can get the best reading. So we can really know what's going on with your brain. There we go. All right, so it's just a drop of gel. Jonas Crafts,
So you put a drop in every one of those
I
holes.
treated him like he was like a jelly-filled donut, and
Oh.
I just gave him way too much.
Ow.
Stop it. So each one will turn green once it's connected. So there you go.
There you go.
Right?
That's kind of weird.
Best podcast ever.
Watching Moan get his brain scanned.
It sucks because you can't really
I wish
see
people
it on
could
the,
see it. Yeah.
See how quickly it turns.
Well, that one did, but
So this is
those
like
two in the front, yeah, the one in the middle went green and then red.
It feels weird.
It feels weird.
and you can see
Yeah.
I got it all over my hands, so I'm just gonna wipe it here. But you can start to see where it's picking up the signal.
Dude, it doesn't look good, bro. Doesn't look good at all.
Shut up.
Working.
Shut up.
Yeah, but it's crazy, dude. Did you read that article about the soccer?
Yeah, and then I got depressed. No.
Because we played soccer pretty much all through youth, all through high school, heading multiple balls.
Yeah.
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 Dude, it doesn't feel good, yo. To be honest, like when a ball is like really high,
Yeah.
and you hit it, it doesn't feel good.
Especially if someone really,
So,
if someone really, yeah, you can't join in on this conversation anymore. You need to,
Yeah.
be,
Sorry, I need to relax.
Sit there and take it.
yeah,
Take those needles in your head.
yeah. But if someone is putting a real hard ball into you and you trying to score a goal, you feel it sometimes. Like you feel a little like.
Yeah.
So if someone just started watching and said, "What is going on?" Simone. Well, if you don't know what's going on, this is Simone getting his brain scanned because this is Mental Health Month. apparently. And we have a guest on that works in the neurology field, and she sells these devices, the NeuroScan, that they use to scan people's brains to find out about traumatic brain injuries and stuff like that could lead to CTE that football players get. And we figured we let Simone get a live scan done on the podcast because he did play football in high school and he has some aggression issues. No, I'm just joking. He doesn't. But
Look at you explaining that so well. Do you want to go ahead and start?
I could work for you, girl. I could sell. We sold hundreds of thousands of CDs over the years. We know how to convince
Hey,
people.
you still playing it?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But
It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think that's a very important thing right now because we definitely look at mental health as. I think the biggest thing is when you talk to people and they're like, "Oh, you're crazy, you're this, you're that." There really is something that is significant in mental health.
Right.
People need to recognize it beyond just something that's just negative that you throw out, because there are people that deal with this on a regular basis, and we need to start making this something that is accepted. And once it's accepted, we can treat it, and then our society can operate a lot better.
I agree with that. I think the brain is still a mystery in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Science is still trying to find out all of the things that we don't know about the brain and about mental health and about neurology, and it takes devices like this and technology and innovation to understand it more.
Right. Data is cool, but I think the treating part is like, how do you treat it?
Right.
The solution,
right,
is the key. And that's a harder part.
That is a
of the
harder
story.
part. But that's another thing that they're finding out about the CBD treatment, because, like she was saying, the cannabinoid receptors, the way CBD reacts with your body, it reacts with both receptors, but it doesn't have the psychoactive chemicals in THC. So you get all the benefits like the anxiety and the de-inflammation and all of that, but you don't get like the high,
Right.
So,
but how do you? I understand it for a certain amount of time, but it's not something you want to be doing your whole life.
yeah,
You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
you don't want to have to need any type of like supplement your whole life, right?
Right.
Like you're a slave to the drug at that point.
You become more aware of functional medicine. You become more aware of the type of food that you eat, those things like that. When you start feeding your body with the fuel when it comes to just the food, it makes a huge difference. We have studied with the NeuroScan on people that have menopause.
Mm-hmm.
She changed her diet, and within I want to say within a few weeks, significant changes on her brain scan.
Wow.
Just on diet alone.
Yeah.
I think we have 3 more receptors, and then we're going to start your scan.
Okay.
So this scan.
Yeah, I mean, I think inflammation has a lot to do with it.
Inflammation is a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, what causes most inflammation? Sugar is a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
Huge problem. Sugar causes a lot of inflammation, and people don't realize that. And all of the carbs that people are eating, all of the breads and stuff like that, they're inflammatory.
Full of sugar, yeah.
And I think that if people get a hold of their diets better, then they will be able to alleviate some of that stuff. But I understand like the use of it, even though like even the concept of like us being obsessed with watching people beat each other up, like MMA and boxing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a whole nother thing. Like why do we even care to watch that? Or why do we care to like make that a thing? But the people that engage in that are getting hit in the head over and over again, they found that
Close your eyes.
a huge dose of like CBD after the fight will bring the swelling of the brain down, so that you don't have the brain injury that results.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like they're using it as a way to prevent,
Preventative.
yeah.
Clench your teeth. There we go. You're connected.
He's connected.
He's connected. Okay.
Look at all those charts and graphs.
that they can't see.
Cerebral.
I know they can't see it. I wish they could. Oh well.
Well, you explain it, Jamie.
I let her explain it because I don't know what I'm looking at.
You relay it because she's.
Yeah.
So basically, what's going to happen is you're going to be tested for 20 minutes.
Music is soothing.
Yeah.
It's all it is chords. They just have that.
They just have that image on there.
Yeah.
Chords at a certain frequency.
Solely
Yeah.
about
I wonder what
the
frequency that is.
frequency levels.
Yeah.
And that was like
Yeah,
one of the
that.
things I was really interested in. I guess I'll talk about it when I sit down. But so what you're going to do right now is a series of 3 different tests. You're going to use this clicker right here.
Okay.
And the first 10 minutes, which will be in 5-minute increments, you will sit with your eyes closed for 5 minutes, eyes open for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And the test will start. So go ahead and click the button. And now you will sit with your eyes. Please relax and keep your eyes closed. So, do we have... Oh, you got your music. All right. Music playing. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Test has started.
So let's talk about. Have you actually had like THC, or do you just do?
Okay. Are we going to just be open? I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I have.
Well, I asked you.
I know. I have had THC and I've had CBD.
Okay.
I can definitely tell the difference between
Okay.
the two. So I've had THC before, but most recently I've tried just the pure CBD. And that's because my boss was like, go ahead, try it. I want you to try it. We're working with doctors who are working with it. What better way to be able to, relate to your doctor's patients than trying CBD?
Right.
So I've tried it, and like again, like you guys kind of explained, it really doesn't give you that psychological, high or
Right.
whatnot.
Psychoactive thing. It just kind of settles you.
It really does. And then again, it does depend on what issues you have. If you are anxious, if you are stressed, if you have X, Y, and Z, it will be able to identify that and kind of heal. Just like if you
I know
have pain.
they also use it for sleep too. Like it's supposed to be way better than Ambien or anything like that.
That was another big thing. So the distributor that works with the former Eagles patient, he is the one who gave him the hemp oil.
Okay.
And I met with him whenever we had the lecture, and I actually did the live test in front of a bunch of doctors, and we all showed that he tried this particular brand of CBD oil, and they have just newly developed another line of CBD oil that is good for sleep. But what's very interesting about this is that this company has now 2 different brands of two different lines of CBD oil. One that's good for being active and treating anxiety and depression and whatnot, and the other for sleep. But there are certain people that can take the one that is good for sleep and it makes them active. Or there are people that will take the one that is good for being active and it makes them sleepy.
Yeah, biology is so complicated.
Exactly.
There's no way you can just say that there's one size fits all for any type of medication. It's like,
Exactly.
you have to see how your body reacts to it and adjust from there.
100%. And then that even kind of falls back in line with the diet. With the whole vegan, paleo,
Yeah.
whatnot. I mean, literally, it's not necessarily, no doctor, you will never go to a doctor and they will say, you have to do specifically this diet. They will give you a suggestion on
Right.
certain things, but your body is going to respond the way it needs to respond to the things that you put into it. And
Right.
that's going to make the most significant difference. And I'm not a doctor and I don't know these things, but I've collected enough data from all the doctors I've talked to really understand the impact of the paleo and keto and whatnot. You'll never find a person that says keto is the best, paleo is the best, this is the best, without confidently 100% backing it up.
Right.
Because it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
It doesn't exist,
that's true. I mean, I think that's one of the people that are against legalizing weed. They make that case because it's like some people do have negative Like, what?
No,
What's
it's
so
reading.
funny?
Simone said, "Is Chang all right?"
Yeah, he's fine. He has to keep his eyes closed for the
Yes,
test.
eyes closed for 5 minutes. So that is why he's sitting with his eyes closed.
We're trying to scan his brain to see if he's crazy. So he needs to keep his eyes closed for the first 10 minutes of the test. I vote yes on the crazy test.
Oh.
No, I'm just joking. But yeah, so people will argue that especially edible marijuana, because it affects the body completely different than smoking it. There's like the enzymes in your stomach react to the THC differently, which absorbs it differently, which causes different effects psychoactively, which some people have gone on these long like psychotic breaks from
And
marijuana.
that's the thing. I think what's really important is that everybody really educates themselves on every element.
Right.
And as crazy as it sounds, but I think everyone can relate to this comparison. But when you think about alcohol, because I feel like everyone compares alcohol to marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just go ahead and kind of explain it in that way. I have a lot of friends that can say, if I drink vodka, I turn into this person.
Right.
If I drink tequila, I turn into this person. So it's all alcohol. It all has
Right.
the same thing, but
But they
there's
come from
something
different grains. They come
Yes,
from
exactly.
there's different fermentation processes. There's
Exactly.
different chemicals added into, so your body is going to react.
Your
different to
body
different
is
things,
impacted differently.
Right.
So the same thing with THC and more so THC, because THC has a lot more elements and components that can attach to different parts of the brain and elements in your body that will allow you to react a certain way. CBD, because we have cannabinoid receptors in the body, like I kind of explained earlier, they're only responsible for, appetite, pain, and psychological things. And so with that regard, they really are more significant in the pain management, appetite, and somewhat of the psychological, but on a higher level.
Right.
When you get into the opioid like receptors, those are they're a little bit more in depth, because there's different inhibitors that they can be attached to, and those inhibitors are a part of different parts of the body. And I mean, it gets a lot more in depth, and that's why we're in that kind of pain medicine epidemic where it's addictive, and then it starts to affect your brain in a different way than it was initially supposed to, because those types of elements are solely for pain management. The brain recognizes it as pain management. But because it affects different inhibitors in your brain,
Right.
it starts to affect the where you're addicted, and it changes your personality and
Right.
things like that, because
Well, it's kind of like the difference between Ambien, right? Because like Ambien will put you to sleep, but it's the kind of sleep where your brain just knows go to sleep, like it or your brain just shuts your body down.
1,000%.
But it's not. It's the studies have shown that it's not good sleep. It's like
Ambien
low. Yeah.
rest your brain. It's not there isn't, and this is really a true statement, there isn't a medication that can make your brain go into a delta state and remain in a delta state for X amount of hours. These medications that anyone takes, whether it's Ambien or a sleep aid,
Right.
all those things do is allow your brain to approach the theta state, which will allow you to somewhat get into the delta state. It does not guarantee keeping you in that state.
Well, that's why you see all those cases of people
Sleep
waking
walk,
up in their
yes.
sleep and baking a cake or
Exactly.
driving to the store and doing all this crazy shit, but they took Ambien and they don't remember. Like Roseanne tweeted that thing, she didn't remember because she took Ambien.
Fake sleep.
Yeah, it's fake sleep. It's
And
fake.
that's what it is, because your body, the delta and theta states are where you're sleeping. Right. So when your brain frequency level is in a delta state, you are in deep sleep. You cannot function. When you're in a theta state, you're slightly aware but in a drowsy state. And these medications is what puts you in that theta state, hoping to get you into the delta state. And when you're in that theta state and you can't necessarily go all the way through, that's when it gets scary.
And people don't understand that about THC also, because and there's different strands that people, like you said, people need to educate themselves on, because a lot of people smoke weed, a lot of people buy this stuff from dealers or whoever, but they're not really educated on the different strands and what each one does. And I know that for THC, and I remember when we used to smoke weed a lot, like you would feel drowsy and you go to sleep, but again, it's not good sleep. Like you're not getting into the deep sleep state. You're just you're just shutting your brain off and allowing yourself to fall asleep quicker.
Exactly.
But that's the difference between CBD, because it doesn't have the way it attaches to the receptors.
Exactly.
It puts you in a deeper sleep. Now you can reach the deep sleep state. This is what the studies are showing.
So I think Jamie just needs to go ahead and go to neurology school. But it's the truth. It really is. So CBD doesn't have THC in it, and it really does just connect to those receptors that are solely responsible for that.
Right.
And that's why it's such a big deal. And I think that's why Texas has been, I mean, I live in Houston, so I want to be proud of Texas' choice, but I do think it's amazing that we didn't just kind of jump into the full-on marijuana legalization. Right. We did it in a process that is extremely smart. We just did CBD. Because it's important.
You need to be smart about it. Like this can't be something that people just, because you watch all the stoner advocates that just want to legalize it for recreational use, but it has to be a process that's done, strategically and smart, and make sure that we're getting all the studies in place that are important, so that we know what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these studies haven't really been done.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so now we're going to the next state. So he's done his 5 minutes, eyes closed. Now you're going to do your 5 minutes, eyes open. Now with the 5 minutes, eyes closed, that was to test his brain activity, which we'll see how it reflects on the scan, because we were talking a lot and you may not have been able to relax, but it is testing his delta and theta state with your eyes closed. So now we're going to test your alpha and beta state with your eyes open. And
can I talk or?
You cannot talk. You still have to relax.
Well, he's definitely an alpha, so he's not his beta state is not gonna work too well. I feel.
I'm gonna make sure that it's gonna run properly.
So talking about this, it kind of makes me think about religion, more so spiritual.
Rachel starts laughing.
No, because when you're thinking about sleep, you're thinking about relaxing,
Right. But no, I think she's laughing because she's like, what doesn't make you think about religion? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when it's something that's important, it's something that's important.
Yeah, I feel you.
Well, so this is what I will say, and you guys know, my brother and I, we went to a private Christian school up until high school, and I mean, very heavily in that. And I think that's a thing that some people kind of get not confused, but they mix the two together, and they are separate. So, and what was completely, unique and amazing to this experience of me being in Philadelphia for this neurology conference and meeting a neurologist that's in Houston who's on this board, we got to really connect. And I thought to myself, let me ask you, what's your idea on meditation music? Because there is controversy on it, And because he's a neurologist and he knows all about brain waves and frequency, I really was intrigued to know, is this something that is a thing? And he explained, based off of actual scans, that listening to certain frequency levels really does affect your brain wave activity when you're sleeping.
Right.
So when you're in that delta state, and when you were doing it with your eyes closed, and if you guys don't know, he is listening to, because this is kind of a test I'm going to do on my own, he is listening to a frequency type meditation music.
He's listening to Cardi B right now.
Yeah,
and
backing it up. But no, I kind of, because I just learned this a few days ago, and I have tried to explain to my friends left and right. I'm like, just go to sleep with this on, and I swear it's going to make you feel a certain way or whatnot. And just the way that the brain operates, just scientifically.
Right.
Scientifically. frequencies going into your brain are going to affect the frequencies that exist in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see like the pictures. I think it kind of threw them off when they saw the picture.
No, it's not that. We were just joking. Like, we know those pictures because there is this huge, like,
Eastern.
Yeah, there is this huge, like, Eastern mysticism push that people are just like latching onto right now. And but I think Jake is speaking about the correlation of how, like, the scientific findings of how the brain reacts to frequencies and all that stuff ties back to the spiritual.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I think he was going to get at.
Right.
Let me hear it. I'm interested.
No, I mean, it's just from what I've seen, there's different frequencies. I mean, you look at radio waves.
Yeah.
Anything. There's frequencies that we can't see, and if we're in those
Yeah, we can only hear from 20 hertz to 20,000. So but frequencies exist infinity. You know what I mean? So and just like the spectrum that we see in, there's colors that exist beyond that, but we don't have the ability to see them with our human bodies.
Right. I mean, even in terms of how we hear music now compared to 100 years ago, they changed the frequency.
Right.
Well,
the master tuning, you're saying, like 440. 440 is the standard of tunings now, but that wasn't always the case, right? Because that 440 tuning has a significance as far as like how your body reacts and how because everything is resonating. Everything in the universe is resonating. Everything has vibration. Everything has its own resonance, right? So if music is resonating within a certain like 440 is this centralized frequency that music is tuned to now. All the music that we listen to is tuned to 440, A440. So, but centuries ago and before that, they were experimenting with other tunings. Out of 440, when did 440 get implemented? Yeah, look that up, Rachel.
I think it was early 1900s, late 1800s.
It never was a thing before that, right? Like tunings were always on a sliding like spectrum. They never
I think in like the official like Catholic Church there was like a certain tuning they would have.
Right.
And
that's like the like hertz or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like when I go to sleep, it's in the 666. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. No, it's like 640, but it goes anywhere from like 600 to 900.
Okay.
And it just depends on like if you're trying to be in a deep sleep, or if you're trying to, be in a steady state. When you go to a spa.
Yeah. And I'm saying this because I know for me,
1834, the Germans did it.
Germans did it in 18. Those Germans.
That's early then.
It's not that early.
1834?
I was thinking it was like 1500s.
I thought it was later, but anyway.
Yeah, because I know that like a lot of the early, even like some of the Baroque music and stuff like that wasn't in 440.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right.
So it's definitely something that's more modern.
Big Blue.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's the only time you're gonna click.
Okay.
So
you can see that.
So now we're at the point of the test where Moon is gonna click the clicker every time he sees the blue circle.
Yeah. So this is the responsive part. So it really gives you the auditory and visual part of the responsive brain cognitive skills. So it's going to give you a practice test. So every time you see the big blue square or the big blue circle.
She's trying to mess him up.
Right? That's how I'm supposed to.
You caught it. He's on it. It's like, you ain't going to have me looking dumb.
Right?
My brain scan going to be nice.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to have the best brain scan. It's the best. No brain scan is better than my brain scan. Yeah, but that's true. Like, talking about the frequency resonance and all of that, like I researched that before too, just looking at like when did they change that and what was the purpose of that and why did it become a standard. Some people say it's because the piano was tuned to that, so they just used the piano as the standard. But why was the piano tuned to that? I don't know.
I don't even think that was the case, but that the piano was tuned to that.
Well, what do you think?
I don't remember. There was. I watched a bunch of stuff, but it's been so long ago. But
Yeah.
but I mean, even like in terms of like prayer,
Right.
you know what I mean? Meditating.
Yeah, meditating.
On, you know, for me, it's meditating on the Bible. It's
Right.
meditating on the words that are in the Bible. So when you do that, it puts you in a. When I go to sleep,
Hold on, Rachel got some data for us right here.
Yeah, it's related to the keyboard.
I told you.
shut up.
I told you. I don't know. It just locks in there, man, when I read
Yeah,
stuff.
That's why you got a higher IQ. So, yeah, look at all the stuff you brought up today, Byron. Those articles you read.
Yeah.
So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So with prayer, like,
Yeah.
I have the best sleep when I look something up right before I go to bed and I'm like studying something
Mm-hmm.
and focusing on it and just trying to understand it. Then I go to sleep and I'll think about, like, it'll be in my dreams all night.
Wow.
But I'll be in such a state of sleep that I'll have the best sleep ever. But I'm still like, I can remember it a little bit.
Right.
Now I want to test him too.
But there's something to be said about that, because you know that phrase "sleep on it," it comes from a real thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's studies that show that, like, if you are meditating on something, even if it's an issue, a problem, something that you're trying to work out, if you sleep on it, it actually, your brain has this way of,
Or
like,
walk on it.
yeah, walk on it, sleep on it. Your brain has this way of working it out, and
when you're in this beta state,
you can pull closer to the mic now.
when you're in the beta state, you're in a highly focused state, right? And when you're highly focused, you can transition from beta to delta, and then beta to theta. So actually, to be completely honest, and it'd be fun for anybody listening and, you know, watching this to look that up. It's a very special trait to go from beta to theta. I mean, that's kind of shows that you have a very strong mind. That you can go. So if you're focusing on something really significantly, and you can go from meditating and focusing on something and go from that into sleep, and it's a deep sleep, which is your theta state. See, we're distracting him. Are you listening to the music? Okay.
I'm trying to listen to you guys too.
Don't listen to us. Do your test,
Do the
bro.
test.
I pressed a small blue.
Never been good at tests.
Now we're going to have inaccurate results. Great. But no, it is kind of a thing that if you can find people who are able to go from that, beta state into the theta state. So
Right.
it's a big deal. So that's kind of what you're explaining right
Yeah,
now.
because even if you think of like anxiety, why are you anxious? Because you're thinking about so many things. You're
So
worried.
multiple,
You're
you're
unsure.
thinking about multiple things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what caused the brain to be anxious, because you cannot focus on one thing. And when you're in the beta state, you're keyed in and focused on one thing.
When you look at men and women, I think women are more. They multitask.
Yeah.
They multitask better, but they also suffer from anxiety more.
Exactly. That's my point.
Right.
That's why I kind of hesitated. I didn't jump on it. I was like, well,
And men.
So do they really multitask better, or do they put too much on
we're
their
forced
plate?
to multitask.
Right.
I mean, it's just
and
kind of
sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's like a societal kind of thing. It's like as a woman, you have multiple roles, and you feel obligated to carry these all on your own, and it's difficult for some women to. So here's the thing:
What she said, obligated. You feel obligated.
You feel obligated, and men compartmentalize. Women do not.
Right.
And that's what lessens men's anxiety, because they can compartmentalize each issue.
Can focus on one thing.
Yes, they separate everything. Women
Right.
throw everything together.
And then
It
it feels like how can I get all of this done if it all needs to?
Exactly.
And that's where you get, like, between a man and a woman, you get that pulled
Balance.
away, because you have a woman pushing, like, we got to do this, we got to do that. And a man is, like, trying to focus. But then, I mean, it can be bad on both sides, because then he can be like, I don't want to think about anything now. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's why
Exactly.
that article, that study that I posted on the Instagram page and on the Facebook page about the 2-parent homes and the stats that go along.
Oh my
with, like,
God, those
I
stats are crazy.
yeah, like just
I haven't seen.
you didn't see that?
No, I need to.
those stats were shocking. It was like 90% of homeless people grew up without a father. Like 90%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
Because they just haven't seen that balance.
yeah, like it was like 70% of rapists. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
the statistics were high.
And I mean, it's important for people to understand that balance, that because everything is about balance, right? And
Yeah.
and men and women kind of balance each other out in those ways. And I think
Yeah, we're not the same.
we're
what's
told
crazy
we're
is-
told that we're supposed to be the same for
we're
some
not.
reason.
No.
Yeah.
Men and women are not the same. I can speak for that.
Right.
But what's even crazier is that across the
Men
board,
can be mothers too.
they
Do your test.
absolutely can.
Do your
but
test
you should be
and
focusing
focus.
on that. No, but like at the neurology conference that I was at today, I had a couple of doctors that walked through, and they had been. I mean, let me just tell you guys, I've been at this conference since Saturday. It's Tuesday, and the conference is going till Thursday. Okay.
Wow.
Longest conference I've ever been at.
Yeah.
But you get to know a lot of these people. And I was talking to a couple of the doctors, and one of them was telling me how he was dealing with having 3 children back to back to back. He has a 10, 11, and 12-year-old. And they had planned on having 5 children, but his wife was so overwhelmed by child number 3, she couldn't handle it. And it was postpartum and everything involved with that. And she just couldn't handle it. And he didn't realize that that was going to be a thing. Because mentally you think, okay, I'm capable of this and I'm capable of that. But when you get yourself involved and your mind is not in that right mindset to be able to handle it, you can go left real quick and real far.
Right.
If you do not have the elements and components to kind of keep yourself stable. And I think that that's a huge thing. And I don't know if that's the reason why he's in neurology or
Yeah. Could be.
that kind of motivated him to kind of dig deeper into it. But it was just interesting to see a different factor,
Right.
on someone who's super intellectual. She wrote medical coding for Merck. I mean,
Oh, wow.
Super smart woman.
Even
but
the fact that she's a woman who codes, like,
I mean,
that's rare too.
brain
Very-
is
Yeah.
smart,
Right.
very independent and very intellectual. But even though she was that, the hormones and the things that happen in
Yeah.
your body and the obstacles that you go through can still kind of throw you off. And I mean, that's a thing for women, and
But-
for him, he
but
was okay.
Think about how much harder it is when you don't have someone to lean on.
And
either.
that's what I
You know
said
mean?
too. I said,
Yeah.
he goes, it was 2 of us. And that
Right.
was another thing he explained. He goes, 2 of us. He goes, you don't get a break.
Right.
You don't get, he goes, if one's in diapers and one's is this, and we couldn't even breathe. And I'm like, I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can contest for that.
We talked about, Jake can.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Back to these stats, though, just to go over them. So, 43% of U.S. children live without their fathers. 90% of homeless and runaway children. Runaway children are from fatherless homes.
Wow.
70% of pregnant teenagers lack a father. 71%.
Okay, yeah, there's a study right there.
Wow.
There you go. 85%, 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes.
Wow.
Hey,
63%.
I mean, you need that balance. you don't make a child by yourself, right?
Right.
I mean, there's a reason why it takes a mom and a dad to make a child, and it's multiple elements that come into play. And
listen to this one. 85% of children who exhibit behavior disorders come from fatherless homes.
Wow.
85%.
And who did that study?
Do you have it on?
Center for Disease Control.
Yeah.
That particular one.
Yeah. I mean, dude, those stats are alarming, and we talk about it a lot on the podcast about the importance of just statistically how like a 2-parent home gives you a 80% better chance at life.
Well, here's what I will say too. A 2-parent home obviously is very ideal, but it's unfortunate that we are in 2019 and the divorce rate is significant. And even if you weren't married, the single parent home is significant. But even if you can have a home where you're not together, but both parents
You're
are
both,
significantly involved.
Right.
You know, it's
Right.
not about the relationship between the mom and the dad or the husband
helps.
and wife. It's
That
about
helps.
the relationship with the child.
Right.
You know, and if you both can put aside whatever issues or whatnot and really focus on the child, that can be significantly, in my
Right.
opinion, impactful. you
Because
know?
it's definitely not about like we need to stay together because we have a kid and then
That, I
our
think, is
household
more-
is toxic and
I 100%
crazy. You know,
think that's more damaging for a married couple to stay together for the child if they know that they cannot function properly and give the environment that's proper.
test complete.
All right, there we go.
Just when we were getting to the good stuff.
I messed up one time.
What did you do?
I pressed the small blue.
How come
I
you
was
didn't
trying
bring
to-
any CBD for Simone to try out?
I would have tried it.
I want to try. I want to see how I want to see the effects of it.
Well, guys,
I'm
I'm
gonna-
here till tomorrow, so we can test you all.
Yeah, I didn't know. I actually did a little bit of research on it. I didn't know it helped with inflammation, with sleep, anxiety.
Yeah.
None of that.
And how natural it is, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I didn't know either.
It's going to take a minute to pull up the results, but we'll have it and we'll be able to share it at some point with you all.
Sounds good. We're gonna see. We're gonna see what's up, man.
All right, let's take this swimmer cap off here.
It would be interesting to do like you and then do Jake because Jake played soccer. We could see like if there is like
My hair
a
is
difference.
crazy.
You know what I mean? In the brain scan, as far as like
Right.
now, does this scan show like any if there was like injury like it does. It shows that.
Yeah, it'll show TBI and damage. Like I said, there was a
Do you ever find people that don't want it, like they don't want to do the test because they don't want to know?
Yes.
Yeah, this stuff
Yes.
feels so nasty.
I
Yeah.
know.
It's all in your
There are
hair.
a lot of patients that do not.
It's scary, but
It is.
It's scary to
I'd
know.
like to know though. Like,
yeah, of course, because you want to know what you're dealing with. I think that's a huge problem, especially for men. Like men don't go to the doctors because they don't want to know. You know, and Freddie was talking about that on that podcast that he did. You know, Freddie Jackson. You heard that? Yeah, Freddie was talking about how because he was just battling. He had an illness with his kidneys.
Freddie Jackson.
Jackson. Yeah. My bad. Freddie Jackson. He was talking about his kidneys and how he didn't realize that he was dealing with a medical issue because he didn't really want to go to the doctor. He didn't really want to know what was going on.
I mean, that's sad, but
Melanie said, "Can kids take CBD?" That's a real question, right?
well, let me see now real quick, and I can.
I don't know. I'll have to research that. I'm sure they probably do give it to some kids for anxiety because it's not psychoactive at all.
Yeah, give me a
Especially like topically, like if my kid like had like a muscle injury or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
so
the thing. Like,
actually, I've learned. So at this neurology conference that I went to, again, the largest in the world, the pharmaceutical companies come out to play with the big boys. They are full force, and there's probably about 3 cannabinoid companies that their booth actually showed pictures of children to give that illustration that let's get rid of the stigma that CBD is direct. Yes, it is marijuana, but not really. Like it has the elements, so we can say it's kind of somewhat tied together, but it's different, right? So you can, prime example, you can give a child Tylenol,
right.
but if you have hydrocodone, Tylenol is an element within hydrocodone,
Right.
right? So same thing. So
And if you give them too much Tylenol, you can kill them. You know?
Exactly, right? So it's just an element, but yes, like children can be treated with it, you know, and and then that's the thing. It's like
This is the thing that people don't. First of all, I gotta address Stan because he's hilarious. He said this study. What did he say? The test is going to be flawed because of her Dell computer.
Are we a Dell hater?
He said study is flawed because of the Dell she's using. he's hilarious.
Well, the software is not from Dell.
This thing is a tank. This is a high end Dell. This ain't one of those Walmart specials.
Well,
Stan is a Mac.
Well, it's the software that's on the Dell. Stan, if you would like for me to purchase a HP for you specifically, and I'll put the software on there, we can do that. And
He's not gonna like that either.
Yeah. First,
are we
he's
like
a
an
Mac
Apple?
yeah, he's a Mac
okay,
user.
Mac. My bad.
Stan, Victoria definitely was like, does Stan still work with you guys?
I was asking. I remember you all.
Yeah.
Why aren't you here?
Yeah. Stan is he's dealing with his kids and his family, so he's got. My son is diagnosed with unspecified anxiety, and it's bad to where he don't even want to go to school.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, you might want to look. I don't know.
So
Is CBD legal in New Jersey? That's my cousin, Melanie.
Okay.
I think so, because weren't they legalizing like a lot of other things here as well, like even medical marijuana?
I actually
They were trying to, but there a few counties I remember voted it down, right? So
Let me look it up.
we were talking. Yeah, check that out. See if you can find out about that. But
I know I asked like my Uber driver.
yeah, okay. But I think a lot of people don't understand that a lot of these treatments come from like actual cultures that use them to begin with. Like all of the medications that we use now come from some form of like plant or some form
Absolutely.
of like
Holistic.
bush medicine, holistic.
So the doctor that I worked with that wanted me to do this neural scan on the Philadelphia's player, he is a family practitioner, but he is into functional medicine, holistic, homeopathic. He's the one who did the lecture on gut-brain connection and talking about
That's a
paleo
huge
versus
thing that people
keto.
don't understand. The microbiome and how that's connected right to your brain.
It is a huge deal, and this doctor is really passionate about teaching people.
But that's
about
another
it.
huge problem with antibiotics, because antibiotics actually destroy a lot of those bacteria
That's all they do.
Right,
I
right.
mean, and then, well, we can get really deep into it. But I mean, when you really think about what you're putting into your body, just like I said, the cannabinoid receptors, your body is sensitive to every single element that you place into it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're cognizant and aware of everything you're putting into it, and you're putting things that are not natural
right
in your body,
yeah,
it's inevitable.
And something like CBD comes from the hemp plant, which is 100% natural, and they use a lot of these cultures use it as medicine already.
Exactly.
And that's where a lot of these treatments come from. Now we get these other versions of it that aren't pure anymore. It's processed into something else.
Even with marijuana now, like you got so many strands.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
hybrids.
and that's
Right,
what
hybrids,
gives it the negative, stigma. So people are thinking, oh, it's marijuana. It's like I had a doctor that I talked to just last week, and I wanted to explain to him the difference between the CBD treatment with this player and how amazing it was to his brain activity. I said CBD.
Right.
I never said marijuana. I didn't
Right.
say THC. And as soon as I explained to him, he was like, "Oh, these people in Washington and Oregon, they're zombies on this synthetic marijuana. I don't believe in it." And I'm like, I didn't say synthetic marijuana.
Right.
I didn't say marijuana. I didn't say I said CBD. And that just goes to show how, and I mean, this is a doctor.
Right.
Who I mean, you got to be educated to be a doctor, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have some type of background. And he even himself didn't understand the difference
Right.
between, the two. And that's what's unfortunate in America's society right now.
Yeah, the big thing is that like continued education, right? So
Yes.
you can kind of get into your field and you can be an expert in that and what you know, but as things are changing and as you're doing new studies and the doctors that you're working with are doing new things, not everybody is open and receptive. Like you said, they just kind of have the shutdown because it's weed related.
100%.
Supposedly.
And that's the thing. So this doctor that's doing these studies, and the doctor who reacted the way he reacted, the age difference
Should ask him if he gives
is like
gives
different. It's
pain medicine. You know what I mean? Like Percocets.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sure.
oxycodone. Yeah, do you
I'm
prescribe
sure.
that
All
to
day.
young children?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, come
Quick to
on,
do that.
you're talking about stuff that people are dying from. you know?
Exactly. And and like you just said, the age difference in these two doctors was significant.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like, and I have just collected my own data from me being in this field and seeing that the ones who are very interested in this are the younger doctors.
Right.
The doctors who are older and have been in their practice for 30, 40 years are very just in their own way and want to continue practicing the way that they do.
They're comfortable.
And they don't want to evolve and really think outside of the box.
So my cousin
that makes me think of religion.
I want to. My cousin said I thought I seen it at a kiosk in the mall. Just was never educated on it like today.
Oh,
Well, that's why we're here. That's why we do
Good.
this.
So to answer the question, it said that hemp-derived CBD
Yes.
is legal
Okay.
to buy and use in New
perfect.
Jersey.
Yeah.
So there you go, Melanie. CBD derived from hemp, which is the one we're talking about right now, which is used for anxiety and depression and, calming you down, helping you sleep, helping with inflammation, joint pain, all of that stuff. That is legal in New Jersey. And then Christian Wood said, my kiddo is 9 and still wets the bed almost nightly. Her pediatrician suggested we try CBD for bedwetting since I'm against putting her on medication. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I would not put a 9-year-old on medication either.
No, you don't want to
That could damage her
introduce-
kidneys.
You do not want to introduce these foreign things into a child who is, I feel like honestly from like 21 under, you just don't want to introduce because your
brain
body's
is still developing
Yes.
until you're. They say
Yes.
25 now.
Yes.
Your brain is still developing.
If you can keep them pure as long as possible,
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
And that's and then we can get into the whole.
I mean,
Yeah.
medication, period. Even like depression
Yeah.
medication
Yeah, yeah.
that turns you into somebody that you're not.
I mean, we've seen all of
the
the
zombies like he's.
right.
Zombies.
Oh, I've had doctors talk to me about, we watch Walking Dead, right? And they
Yeah.
say that these are viruses and things like that. Well, let's think about dementia,
Mm-hmm.
Alzheimer's. Okay, these are people that are functioning like human beings. They're eating, sleeping, breathing, communicating, but their brain is significantly off.
Right.
Their brain is off. And
Their
those-
memory, their memory, which is another thing CBD has been
Yes.
been used to help, is
Yeah.
especially your long-term memory. Like it helps with storing things in your brain. Like
So this
Wow.
scan that we do, it will detect certain elements that show in the brain that will let you know that within a certain yearly time frame, you will begin to have significant memory loss that will lead to dementia.
wow.
10
With
years.
this test can
with
show
this
that.
particular test that we just performed
Wow.
can show you 10 years in advance if you will have something like that happen to you.
And I know that they said that was one of the major symptoms from players that were suffering from
Yes.
CTE is that they would have dementia, memory
Exactly.
loss. They didn't know where they were at certain times. And
we had a patient because in Texas, this device is in a lot of clinics, and we've definitely been able to work with a lot of doctors in Texas, and we actually had a driver who was like a semi truck driver. And he was supposed to be routed from Dallas to, I think it was like Amarillo. So if you guys are familiar with Texas, Amarillo is north of Dallas, okay?
Texas is so big.
It's
Just a fun fact about Texas. Did you know that they say that you could fit every single human in the world in Texas?
I didn't.
And they could
not
all
know.
have their own space and not be on top of each other. That's how big Texas is.
Well, come on, guys, come to Texas. Well, and
But we
another
still
fact,
need the wall, though.
it's
Rachel's like, I'm looking this up.
right.
He's
She's like, I'm
crazy.
googling it right now.
He's crazy.
Actually, another fun fact is that it is from. I live in Houston, and let me just tell you, I love LA. Fun
Yeah.
story.
yeah. Was that the first time you went to LA?
That
when
was
you came
the
to our
very
show?
first time I ever went to
Remember
LA.
when she traveled to LA to our
That
show?
was the very first time I went to LA was to see you guys, and we booked that ticket the day of. My mom and I booked it, and we came out and saw you guys in this huge festival with like every old school R&B artist known to mankind.
I think Atlantic Star was there.
Everybody, Houdini,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
What is that? What's that say?
You right.
I'm right. Thank you. Wait. It says 7 billion leaves each person with less than 100 square meters. That's still a hell of a lot of space.
We're gonna be tight, but you're right.
We're
Less than 100 square meters?
That's a pretty
Well,
good amount
here's
of space.
another thing. El Paso is closer to LA than like El Paso and LA are closer together than like Houston and all these other. It's like how can you be in Texas and be closer to LA than like cities that are like way above in the Midwest or something like that? It's like,
Right.
what is happening? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Flat
Like,
Earth.
oh goodness.
That's one of the arguments that they use. It's crazy.
No, like it's like something like it's like closer to LA than it is to Houston. Like El Paso is closer. El Paso is closer to LA than it is to Houston. And El
Texas
Paso
is so big.
Is in Texas. Why is Texas that big?
I think our maps don't accurately
They
depict
do not.
Texas. Like the fact that everyone could fit there. And then it's like, so what is the population problem that we're having if everyone could fit in one state? Like,
Right? I mean,
there's so much more land in America.
The whole world.
I mean, there's
So-
a lot of factors there, dude.
I know that, but
So this driver.
dude, they can grow organs now. They can find ways.
like-
Did you see about the how they're finding out now that they were able to grow food like in the Amazon region, because like back in the ancient times they're finding like these new lands using this technology with lasers. They found these like cities in the Amazon that they couldn't get to
Oh.
before, where people actually
Did not know
learned
that.
how to infuse microbes into
Make
the
their own
dirt
soil,
because the soil there can't grow food, so they created their own soil.
I believe that.
That's different from all the other soil that could grow food in the Amazon. That's like from
Where they learned that from?
I don't know, man. You learned that from the ancient aliens, bro.
The ancient aliens. I heard about that. No,
It's crazy, right?
Okay, so let me tell you.
Okay.
So this guy, he was supposed to drive all the way up to Amarillo, right?
Yeah.
From Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many hours later, he ends up in San Antonio.
Wow.
Again, if you're not familiar with Texas,
San Antonio is- yeah.
significantly
Yeah,
south
right.
of Dallas, and Amarillo is all the way north.
Is that like
San
6
Antonio
hour
is a great
difference?
place too.
Right? 6 hours?
Great Mexican
Yeah.
food.
6
Yeah.
hours from Houston, south though. Right?
No, I'm saying from Dallas.
Oh,
From
from
Dallas,
Dallas.
it's about somewhere about like 5 hours. From Houston, it's about 2 hours, which is why we met you lovely gentlemen
That's
there
right. You
like
guys came
13 years ago and
Right.
took you out to the best Mexican restaurants.
That's right.
Yeah, so good.
The stories go on and on, guys. Y'all have no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
And this was before social media. I remember that too.
MySpace, I think. Right?
We had, I was
Yeah.
MySpace. Okay. Like,
But your mom, though.
My mom was
Shout out
on
to
it.
your mom. Your mom is the best.
on
man.
point. She
Yeah.
made it a point that we all stay connected and we're the best, hosts for you guys every
Yeah.
time you came to Texas.
Mhm.
We made it a point.
Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
There you go. And we're from Iowa. We're not even from Texas, but my mom engulfed it and she was going to like test
How did
it
you
out on
end
you
up in
guys.
Texas?
Good question.
Long story.
No, not
Okay.
really. We just were over the snow. My parents were like done going to
Listen,
Florida
I feel
every
you on
winter.
that. I hate the snow. I'm
Yeah,
so
so like
over it.
back to the humidity thing, it was like, do we want snow or humidity? My parents were more about the humidity than they were the snow.
Okay.
We're like, well, we're good.
I like snow sometimes.
I do too.
I like snow when it's
Going
falling.
sledding.
I like snow when it's falling.
We can't get
Now
the
we
next
gotta,
day
like,
it's
shovel
terrible.
it.
Stops.
Yeah. As soon as it stops and you have to deal with the
you got to
See,
shovel it
the
out.
shoveling
Guys,
and
let me just tell you, my Texas people have no idea what that's like. They just see like snow falling and they're dying.
yeah.
But the snow that falls in Texas doesn't stick like the snow that falls here, where you have
Right.
like 5 feet and you
Right.
got to shovel it. They just know ice, and they just like lose
Yeah.
3
You
feet,
talking
Yeah.
about Buffalo.
a foot.
Yeah.
Well,
6 inches.
6 inches.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter.
Anything
It
that needs shoveling.
could- anything like
salting the roads, all that dirty
No,
muck
the
that gets all
only
over
listen.
everything.
The only snow that ever falls in Texas is the snow that like melts as soon as it hits the ground.
Right.
But
So you
still,
see it in the sky and then it's gone.
they're still freaking out about
Okay,
it.
let's get back to the story. We like keep going off on tangents.
I know. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But no. So okay. Anyway, so he drives opposite direction. He goes to his doctor, and this is a work trip that he's taking. So obviously, he has to let his employer know that. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to the destination I was supposed to. I went the opposite direction. They were even concerned. So they're like, you need to go to the doctor. And they go and have him go into his family practitioner and then also into the, their doctor. And his family practitioner just happened to have the neural scan. And they scanned him and saw the elements that are reflective of onset dementia.
Right. That's crazy.
And I mean, he would not have known. He would have just been like, oh, I just have been going through things or something like that. But they scanned his brain and saw something that they caught at a point where it was kind of bad, but where they could definitely fix it because it was the first sign,
So
right?
how do they fix it? Like, how
So-
do you slow it down? I don't know if there's fixing, but
So I'm not a neurologist, so I cannot.
She can't speak to that?
I cannot, but I can definitely speak to how it's done. But I do.
She
have
can speak to how they find it with
Yeah.
the technology.
But there are a wide variety of different things. And I have, like I said, I was working with a neurologist who's in Houston, and he just so happens to be on the board of this neurology conference that I went to. And he is kind of along the same lines as the doctor I told you about, who's into not just focusing on the medication part, but really trying to do functional medicine.
Diet is a huge thing, I know. Yeah.
So listen to this. If you have a more plant-based diet, and again, I'm not a neurologist, I cannot diagnose and heal and medicate, but if you have a more plant-based diet that's not with the processed foods, meats, things like that, that will within days start to affect your body in a way it gets rid of the plaque.
Mm-hmm.
You have plaque that can build up inside of your entire body, brain, your veins, everything. And once you start getting rid of that plaque, your brain works better. Your body works better. Your brain has electric waves and signals that go through your brain. And when you could do like test or they even say if grandparents spend more time with their grandkids, just that stimulation. So when they say
I know you
brain
get those
stimulation,
neurons firing in
literally,
ways that they don't fire. Yeah.
that literally breaks down plaque buildup that could cause dementia and Alzheimer's as well.
I'm thinking about this. I wonder about even like retirement. Because you kind of like
being idle, yeah.
It's
I mean,
that
when
is
you
the-
don't use your brain, you literally starts to soften. Like
Right.
Exactly. You start to build up these things where, just like, you have your drum sitting there and you could have them sit there forever and then you get the dust build up and it builds up and builds up and then you got to clean it off.
And then the wood
You're-
starts breaking down, and it's just
Exactly.
not being used.
If
or
you're not
maintained.
using parts of your brain, just like these brain scans, it shows the frontal lobe, the cerebral, all these parts of your brain that are responsible for certain parts of your human function. If you don't utilize these, they will sit idle, collect dust, which is aka plaque. And then you start to develop these cognitive disorders, which are dementia, Alzheimer's, all of these
you
things.
don't brush your teeth.
you get plaque.
You,
Right.
it's
That's
the
from my
truth.
It's real.
No, it's
But
it's the truth.
It's definitely something to. It makes sense why like switching your diet up that drastically, especially if you've been eating like shit all your life, and
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, I'm gonna cut out all of that and just eat a plant-based diet. Of course, your body is gonna react drastically to that, and it's
and
gonna
immediately.
right. It happens immediately. I noticed it when I started doing keto. It was immediate change, because it's you're shocking your body into basically getting rid of all of the crap that it has to process on a daily basis, and also
Exactly.
fasting is was a great thing for that, for repairing damage to the body. Dead cells. What's the term when you with fast?
Autophagy.
Autopathy, right? Autophagy, yeah. Like when you fast for a certain amount of time,
18 hours or more.
right? It shows that your body goes into this state where it starts to like break down bad proteins.
When people really take the time to really, dive deep into how your body truly functions, you'll start treating it a lot differently. People who are really obsessed, like the car situation. I mean, I know people that I love their cars and they know all this work, everything. And the fact that you know every single element of your car and you'll put in all these things in your car, think about your body.
Your body is your car.
Is what
your
keeps
body is your literal your vehicle for this world that that takes you from birth to death, and people don't know enough about it. And the brain is one of the biggest mysteries because we only use a small percentage of our brain power. So I think it's one of those things that they're going to slowly kind of continue to unravel, and then eventually they'll be able to treat some of these things. I remember I was saying they're printing organs now, right?
Listen, I was at you guys don't understand this conference. So all of you that are watching right now and listening in, just go to the website, AAN. It's the American Academy of Neurology. It is incredible to see what these people are doing. I mean, it is a beautiful thing to see how people really are looking into brain health. I mean, this is the most significant, it's the motor of your body.
Right.
In every element, food, water, education, reading, auditory, visual, all of these things affect your brain and affect how you function as a human being. And it's incredible. And I feel like everybody should be significantly aware.
Should be at least interested in how your body works.
Don't you want to be,
So on that note, we're getting close to the end.
No way.
Do we have any results or findings?
We might. Let me see.
Mr. Chang?
Let's see what these results show us. Well, we're not going to know what any of this means, but Victoria will know.
We wouldn't be able to interpret it, but let's see.
Dude, I just saw this thing where they literally printed a human heart, 3D printed a human heart.
I don't know what to say.
Made out of cells, literally printed a human heart. But the only thing they couldn't get it to do yet, everything was there intact, fully. The only thing they couldn't get it to do was to pump.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah.
This is a lot of noise. That means you were very.
So
very,
can you turn that towards?
Yeah. Let's see if we can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they might be able to see that.
Oh wait.
There we go.
That's me not paying attention.
This is the pink is lots of noise. So we definitely had him distracted. So this is when he's supposed to be in his delta state with very relaxed.
Oh.
And he
was not relaxed.
Well, we knew it wasn't going to be extremely accurate because this isn't a setting for the test perfectly, but it was fun to watch him wear that thing on his head.
Right? Let's see your response.
Yeah, and they've already they grew some lady's bladder from tissue, someone that had cancer in their bladder, and they totally replaced it. So they're looking at trying to
they print it and then put it. Wow.
And they're looking to be able to do that. So taking your stem cells and your own DNA to totally just duplicate your exact same heart or whatever, and totally just re-put that back in your body.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that.
That's crazy.
I don't know how to feel about that.
It's advances in medicine, man.
Yeah.
Imagine they could you lose a finger and they can just 3D print it and put it back on.
When I had my eyes closed, I felt all this pressure right here. I don't know if that added to that.
Felt pressure?
So what we're reading here is that his physical stress was his body was fine.
Mm-hmm.
His mental stress was pretty significant.
Mental stress.
Mental stress
I'm in the red.
is up.
He's in the red. Yeah, mental stress is up.
That's because we were getting him angry talking about. What were we talking about that he was chiming in on? You're getting him angry.
Your body mass index is great. Your autonomic activity is good. Your balance is good. Your autonomic balance is perfect. That means your body, everything physically, you're in great health.
Great
At
health.
least you're in perfect health. You right?
He's like, you didn't have to tell me that. I go to the gym.
This is really good too. All of that's really good.
Get to his brain injuries.
Okay. Let's see if we can go back.
We want to know if football killed his brain.
Right. So we did show. I mean, he definitely had a lot of activity with regards to. Oh, they didn't the behavioral motor test. So your right lobe had some activity. So I don't know. See where the red is? That's where you've had some type of TBI. Is on the right side of your brain. So where it shows the red and the fact that it's continually to pop up. See?
Yeah, right side.
The right side.
Can we show that?
Can you see that? Can we? Yeah, pull that screen back up.
Is it this one? I mean, it's not super safe.
So it's hard to see that from there, but there's a little red spot on the right side of his brain. Each picture shows the spot pretty much in the same place.
Scary.
It is kind of scary, man.
But now you know, and
And now you can like get a test done for real, maybe. Yeah. But
We can do
what does
that.
this mean?
So this just means that he's had TBI,
Does
traumatic
it
brain injury.
does it show like the depth of it or like?
So yeah, so the fact, and so this is the thing, because it's so light right here. So someone, I wish I had a comparative scan, but someone who had really significant TBI, and what's the most important, impactful TBI would be red that's in the front.
Okay.
frontal
The frontal lobe, yeah.
Is what's responsible for your cognitive skills, your personality, things like that. So if there was significant red anywhere in the front,
This must be the part that has to do with remembering dance moves. So that's where the
Yeah.
brain injury.
That would be when you would be really significantly.
Wait, so the right side of the brain, isn't that like the more creative side and the left side? No, seriously.
Yeah. Right. I think it is. The right side is the creative side. Left side is analytical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the front. So I mean,
Need to get your creativity up.
normally.
I've been
Yeah, it's a little
hit.
bit-
I've been hit right there.
We don't know how accurate this is, first of all, just
Yeah, of
because
course, yeah,
the test
because-
wasn't done like super, you know.
So basically, let me kind of explain how it should go. So typically, whenever you're doing this neural scan, you want to be in a very quiet environment, so that way your brain really is in the most significant relaxed state, and it can get the most accurate scan of the state, because it purposely has you close your eyes, open your eyes, and also be responsive. So that it can get the accurate readings of how your brain reacts to whatnot. And so the fact that we were all talking,
Yeah.
I did do a scan one time in a room where a bunch of us were talking, and the scan did pick up some type of decline in the auditory receptive state. And that's basically your language, where you can understand different languages. And as you can see, everybody that saw this, he didn't speak one time when he was doing this scan. So this is literally how the scan goes. And the person who did this particular one did not speak, obviously. And she was from another country, and English was their second language. And it was able to pick up that. And there's no speaking in this test either, but it was able to pick up something like that in her brain activity that
Wow.
she cannot, and it's like, and there's really, I mean, as you can tell, like, tell me what you feel like the test was like for you, with your eyes open, eyes closed, and clicking.
If like I was saying, like when I had my eyes closed, I felt a lot of tension here. Maybe that was the stress level.
And it
That's
might
why
have been
was-
just you feeling a little bit more stressed to concentrate on it, because you were trying to get rid of the outside elements.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
You need
Actually,
that
almost-
CBD, bro.
Maybe.
So
I
we're
almost-
going to
I
be
almost
treating him
fell
with
asleep.
CBD tomorrow and scanning him again.
I almost fell asleep actually.
So that's the thing too. We also actually tell
I
our
saw you
patients.
doing, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he gonna be knocked out.
I dozed off, and then I did one of those You know,
Yeah.
Pitch yourself.
like you do on the plane or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so a lot of times when we do like demos with different doctors, we have to tell them to remind them like they can't fall asleep.
Right.
You know, like stay awake.
So that's important. They need to be
Yes,
awake.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Because you want, that's important in scanning with the eyes closed. You want to see how they fluctuate in that state.
With the test, I was actually trying to play a game with myself. I was like, can I engage with them and try to talk
And-
then do
So
that?
maybe
at the same
that's
time?
okay. So that makes sense. So where he had his test where it showed his eyes open and eyes closed, where he wasn't being responsive, there's the 5 minutes eyes open, 5 minutes eyes closed, and then the responsive. The first two really try to show his like stable mental state. And that's interesting because there was a lot of brainwave activity.
Yeah.
Where it shouldn't have been brainwave activity that they were trying to read. So they base it off of knowing that they don't want to have brain activity, and you showed significant brain activity. So shame on you.
What you about to say, Rach? You about to say something?
It's kind of funny because he just
funny.
he just
You
said
just
he-
can't take the test, man. Like,
Yeah,
you gotta be over there trying to overachieve. and
They
overexcel.
cannot follow direction.
You should have texted him, don't mess up, before he
Hold
took
on.
the test.
I'm thinking about something though. It's kind of interesting because you're trying to do something,
Right.
Right. So you're thinking about what you need to do. Doesn't that give you anxiety? You know, when you're thinking, like
Yeah.
when you.
And it picks up on it.
Yeah,
So that
maybe.
when the test is saying keep your eyes closed, it is actually trying to pick up on certain brain waves when your eyes are closed, because it knows that your brain will activate a certain frequency.
Right.
Right? And so because you purposely tried to activate a different frequency when your eyes were closed, it picked up on that brain activity and showed the differential scan. So
I said, "Oh, he crazy." I said, this guy
lots
got-
going on here.
Yeah, this guy's got damage.
I mean, it goes into like what we put on ourselves,
right.
too. You know,
Right.
in a way, like I got to live up to this thing because that's kind of what you're doing when you're doing that. You know, I got to live up.
I
to
want to
this.
see if I can
And-
do the test
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
have the best scores ever.
Yeah.
I mean, on a like very kind
Yeah, I
level,
know,
but
yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily say that you're more intellectual or less intellectual, because I even scanned the doctor who's the one who I first started working with the scan on. And when you saw his brain with the eyes closed and eyes open, and you think that the green is all good, I mean, there was a lot of, noise and activity that was going on, even when we tried to leave him alone. And this doctor is phenomenal. I mean, extremely intellectual. So, again, it does, like you just said, Jake. I mean, when you're really trying to have a lot going on and it's testing the differentials of activity as opposed to not having activity, that's where it's going to identify the anxiety, because you shouldn't be thinking these things or having this much brain activity when you're in a eyes closed, relaxed state. So
Makes sense.
makes good sense. Let's all go to neurology school.
Let's all do it. We'll start our own company.
Exactly. Next year we'll be in Toronto at the 2020 Neurology Conference.
We like Toronto.
Yeah,
go.
Toronto's cool. Cool. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up, right? It's been about 2 hours. So
Thank you for being
yeah,
here.
we want to thank you for
Thank
coming.
you guys for having me.
So
Good to see
amazing
you.
that you were able to
I-
just come and be here for this, right?
It's crazy.
it's been so long. Since
It's been and what's crazier is that whenever we saw each other, it didn't even feel like that much time had gone by, right?
Right.
It literally felt like no time had gone by, but
Yeah.
thanks
But-
social media.
A lot
I
of time
guess.
has gone by, right?
A long time.
It's a bunch of kids and marriages.
We've
and all in
we've
the
all
process.
grown up. Like
Yeah.
when we first met, we were all like teens, freshly out of teens.
Yeah.
And now we're all like with kids
Yeah.
and have been married
Yeah.
and like, we're grown ups now.
Yeah, doing jobs. You're over here selling these devices, killing it. She told me the commission she gets on these things. I was like, what?
Right?
And how many of them did you sell?
Today alone, I sold 4.
Oh my God, she's balling. So
so-
we're gonna need some new cameras around
Exactly.
here. We need a rich.
Right?
camera.
Exactly. Yeah. And if anybody reaches out and sells, I'll give y'all a commission. Right?
Cool. We can make some sales off this podcast.
Right.
We're gonna get some commission on those devices.
There we go.
But yeah, thank you for coming. We really
Thank
appreciate
you guys
it.
for having me.
So
this
good
is
to
amazing.
see you. I'm glad you were here.
I'm so glad I reached out. I came last minute, and you guys were so accommodating. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Victoria's been supporting us forever. She's never fell off. She's never abandoned us like a lot of people have over the years.
I have definitely been a significant supporter from 2005 when I met you guys, and now it's 2019. What in the world?
Crazy.
Insane.
So make sure you guys really do some research on brain health and mental health, and your just understanding your body more. It's really important for people to know that. And check out the neuroscan that she's advocating for. You can, what's the website?
It's neuralscan.com.
Neuralscan.com.
And the company that I work for is universalmedicaltesting.com. So we have multiple devices, but this newest one that I'm most passionate about is definitely the neural scan. So
the brain is interesting.
Very. I'm
it.
loving being at this conference. I have been talking, and it's an educational track conference. So it's not one where you just sit at a booth all day. I mean, they have sessions from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and it's 8,000 neurologists that are attending.
Wow.
I mean, talk about learning a lot in 5 days. I couldn't have been happier to come here and learn all this, and then also catch up with my old friends.
Right.
It's been an incredible 5
We get
days.
to learn from you now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
You're
it's
so
been amazing.
grown up.
I am, and so are you guys.
I'm glad you get to represent for like smart, real women out there that are doing like that understand,
It's possible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's as young women, and I mean, well, I'm not that young. I'm 32, but it's possible.
Right.
You can. I'm a mom.
Right.
I'm a career woman.
Right.
I travel and I do it all, and I'm happy. And it's definitely possible. You put your mind to it, and you find something you're passionate about. Go for it. Do what you have to do and go for it. And I promise you, you will be so happy in whatever it is that challenges you.
Word.
Yeah.
Words to live by, y'all. So you heard it here. This is where we're gonna leave it for tonight. Make sure you guys, if you're watching, if you were watching and you catch this in the future, or you watching it on YouTube, give it a like and a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel, and make sure you support the podcast, Young Lion TV. You can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Young Lion TV, and you can become a Young Lion, which we're glad we got this is our first female guest.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
First female guest. Thought about that on episode 10.
Thank you,
First
guys.
female guest. First young lioness in front of the camera. Rachel has always been the young lioness behind the scenes, and she'll be on the podcast soon. As soon as we can get Carter to come here and run some tech. But make sure you guys support. Give this, share this on Facebook so people can know about the podcast. We're trying to get awareness up about this, and make sure you just keep watching the podcast every Tuesday, 8:00 ish. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching Young Lion TV.
Young Lion, go live, yeah. Young Lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah. Go and fight people in, ooh.